Welcome to Pod 41. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. All right.
Happy New Year, everyone, and I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas.
Fruity.
We all just go, That is the definition of a straightforward West Coast IPA, gentlemen.
Yes.
Hop Tramp by Tentor. That's a local. I don't think we've ever featured Tentor on the pod. They're definitely not one that I pull a whole lot like when I'm, out and about.
Me neither.
But I will say that it definitely has that backbone of Citra hopped. Yeah, 7.4. So like we said, local out of Reno. They do a lot of actually decent ready to drink mixes with they do this blackberry lavender vodka. That's pretty damn good.
They do a lemonade too.
That's the one. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
This is definitely more on the hoppy side. It says tropical fruit notes. Are you guys pulling any tropical fruit notes? I get more of just.
I could taste that Citra West Coast hops.
Right, that's what I get is just that Citra pop. I don't really get any tropical.
No, I'm getting far more like a piney-esque out of it than fruit, which is totally fine within an IPA. It's not to say that it's a bad flavor profile.
No, it's a good brewski.
As you can see, it's definitely in color. It's a little bit darker than some IPAs, and that's probably because of the higher APV.
Well, the front actually says citrus aroma shines through with notes of pine. Guess we should have read the fucking front.
No, fuck that. I'm glad that I knew that just without reading it. I feel a little proud about that one.
You won't be able to see the can on the video, but in the pictures, if you look on Instagram or
check
X,
them out.
It actually looks like David Bowie.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah, the Ziggy Stardust throwback to that right there.
This was actually a Christmas present, so.
Oh, boom. Okay. That's great.
Christmas present for the pod now.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody gets gifts.
We're working into the new year here. We're December 30th. So you guys think that champagne's the most overrated drink of all time?
Okay, so New Year's coming around the corner, and that's your cheers, and then
any alcohol drink. Is it the most overrated alcoholic drink that there is? And if it isn't, what's more overrated?
Man, I'm gonna take the other side. I know I'm probably outnumbered here.
I love that we agree too much now. So yeah, give us an offset.
All right. Well, I have an uncle who lives in Petaluma, so we go to Sonoma. I've had champagne at the wineries.
The tippy tops.
Yeah, the nice super nice stuff. The good stuff is different than your basic stuff that you just mix for mimosas or just whatever.
Right.
Just celebrating something. Everybody's shaking up some cheap champagne and blowing it everywhere.
I've had some expensive stuff, and I still wasn't a very good fan of it.
Well, I mean, not everything's for everybody. I mean, we talked about this before on the pod, but I'm more down. I'd rather have champagne than one of those pre-mixed cocktails myself, just because I feel like those turn out worse more often than not.
God, I know. I do not like ready to drinks. They might be more overrated than champagne. You might be right, because I can actually suck down champagne. I do not like a lot of the ready-mades. They are way too sweet for my liking. I end up having to put
they're fake sweeteners and shit more often than not. Where at least champagne's still on the true fermented, it's just fermented grapes.
I'm a Trev.
No,
champagne is not the most overrated. Ready to drinks are most overrated.
Here's the thing, though. I separate them into two different classes because there's no such thing as a fancy ready to drink really outside. There are, but it's not in the same way that champagne. There are $1,000 bottles of champagne, more and more, more expensive than that for sure. That I've tried a couple of I would say mid to higher tier champagnes, and they were meh. Yeah. It's just not a flavor that necessarily I gravitate towards. It's why I don't necessarily like white wines. I don't like sweet a whole lot in my alcohol or in like my wine per se.
See, I'm on the other side there too. Like,
okay.
I'm a red wine guy, but
I'm all red wine.
Exactly. Yeah, well, we all agree on that.
When it comes to white wine, I do enjoy a buttery Chardonnay. Like, it just goes, I think, so well with fish.
And that is the pairing for sure. I've heard that, no doubt.
I've had it paired with fish. I mean, I've had gone to pairing eatings and had it with fish. So I mean, I don't mind it, but I'm more red.
You guys,
I drink a lot of fucking red. I think I had a bottle last night.
You know what I was drinking on last night? This is a throwback, callback kind of thing. We were putting down car bombs up at Ryan's Saloon.
I actually took a picture. I went to Great Basin last night,
Let's
and I actually did my work. I've remembered to do.
Hey.
I remembered to take a picture of what I drank.
Okay, and
I had 2 stouts.
okay.
I had the Old World Coffee Stout, which is the Outlaw mixed with Old World Coffee cold brew.
Bet. Okay.
Good. It was good.
Just good.
Yeah, it wasn't. It didn't blow my pants off.
6.5.
No, only 5%. And then I had the Outlaw on nitro, and it's just anything on nitro is just. I think we talked about this last pod or something. Anything on nitro, I just fucking can't get over.
Well, especially when you're talking milk stouts that have that lactose already in it, so the body of that beer is gonna just be.
It's so good.
Shout out to Great Basin, another local brewer. I don't think we've featured them on the pod.
No,
not yet.
Maybe not. We didn't do Outlaw?
I don't think so.
Who?
Outlaw? Didn't we do the stout?
No, because to be fair, all right, here's the thing about Great Basin. Let's be real about this. Their flagship stuff, it's drinkable, but I'm not bringing that stuff onto the pod.
What about Chucky Red?
Okay, that one's pretty good.
Did we do that one on the pod?
I don't think so. Well, I think we've mentioned it.
Okay. Yeah, I like the Chucky Red.
No,
I think I brought the Chucky Red on the pod.
I think we also had the Leave No Trace, right?
Ooh,
that lager,
yes,
which I was actually pleasantly surprised by because I'm not traditionally a lager guy, but yeah, no, I would definitely say that Great Basin.
Don't they have another one south 32 or?
Don't hurt yourself.
Or right south of 32, it's got Tahoe on the thing. It's I
don't know.
Below 32 or something.
Oh no.
Oh wait, no, that's
that two below is that's
two below somebody else. But they have another.
Belgium.
They have another beer that they have Tahoe on the label.
Okay.
And it's a good one.
Well,
too.
no, but I was gonna say that they have, and I don't know if they've done this year's rendition, but they do. They call it the Skittly, and it's their bourbon barrel aged, and they've been doing it for a long time, like before it was a trend. They were like the first bourbon barrel stout that I ever tried, and the 404 was fucking. It was the first edition. It was phenomenal, and they're one of those. Their rotators or their one-offers or special beers are immaculate. They do a lot of really good barrel aged and different kind of blend cuvées, things like that. But their flagships are fair.
Do either of you guys like their chili beso?
No.
No.
Do you guys do the 50-50 with the wild berries? Some people do that.
Oh, with like the peanut butter and jelly kind of. Well, the PB&J's with it. But
I had to try it.
You do the chili. I know I've seen people do the chili basil
with the wild berry.
With the wild berry.
I could understand that. It would make sense. I'm not, dude. It's so weird. I love hot food. I don't like hot alcohol.
Not like that pepper taste in the beer.
Pass.
The guy I used to work with, Alex, he loved that chili basil beer.
It was big with people.
He's a Latino guy, dude, and because he'd go to different places, and I'd tell him, dude, you gotta try this. I brought him the peanut butter from Lead Dog one time.
Nice, that's a solid
But he was
one.
always like, dude, I love that chili basil. I think he liked the heat.
Sure, and that's the part I don't like, and that's the selling point to that beer. So I mean, it's one of those where there's really no middle ground. You either really like it or it's not for you, kind of thing.
100% with that one. Let's jump into something that we're all 100% about. The CFP Final Four is on Monday. So we got.
I should be wearing some Husky gear, to be fair.
We got number one. We got number 1 Michigan going up against number 4 Alabama in the Rose Bowl.
Okay.
And then we got number 2 Huskies. It probably should have been 1 going up against number 3 Texas in the Cotton Bowl.
I appreciate that shout out. No, it's in the Sugar Bowl.
Is it Sugar?
Yeah, the Cotton Bowl happened. Is happening today.
I feel like I knew what I wanted to bet. Like if I was going to go bet these games, and then all of a sudden, you just start rethinking. Like, dude, is Michigan really going to be able to beat Bama?
I want to do a real quick sidebar before we get into the pairings right here, just because I saw the line, speaking of the Cotton Bowl, the line for the Florida State-Georgia Cotton Bowl is Georgia minus 21. Are you going to... Yes.
What? Are
you
serious?
Are you going to defend Florida State getting into the... Now, is it because their Broadmaker or whatever, that second stringer is not playing? It's the third stringer who has to play. But yeah, the line on ESPN, as reported of this morning, is Georgia minus 3 touchdowns.
That's
3
not surprising.
full touch. So
I think it is with that defense, even if the offense is missing pieces.
How can you make the argument that Florida State should have been in? If that's 5-6 and that matchup is minus 21 on a neutral field,
I feel like with their backup quarterbacks, they're not going to have enough offense to score any points against Georgia.
Georgia's going to beat the pants off of Florida State today, I bet. Man. But you never know. You never know.
Football can football. But that's what I'm saying, though, because if that's supposed to be the very next matchup, and that's what we're looking at, like, oh, man.
Also, kind of skews, like, both of these teams were on the cusp of making the playoffs.
Right, exactly.
And now we're going to have this kind of weird game if players are not playing.
I don't know if anybody from Georgia stepped out, though. I don't know if Bowers has or any of the other guys have.
I didn't hear that, yeah.
Florida State, they've had, I think both receivers aren't playing.
Okay.
Dang.
And don't they have like a first round defensive end that
is Verse playing? Is Jared Verse playing?
That's it.
He's
He which might indicate that he might sit. I don't know.
Both receivers, Keen Coleman and the other kid that's 6'6", I think are both sitting, and they both declared.
Sidebar. Miller Moss. It's Miller time for LA, baby.
We'll see.
He looked pretty good. He set a record for the Trojans for passing for six touchdowns in the bowl game.
Right.
I mean, that offense.
Against who?
Louisville.
Yeah, it was Louisville.
Well, to be fair, they were stiff. I was gonna say, yeah. Hey, shit. Their last appearance, they were of value. So it's not to say it's a
Ohio State got their pants beat off by Mizzou.
Oh my God, dude, that was such a wasted game. 14-3. I guess congratulations, Missouri. Maybe,
but it sucks because all these dudes are either transferring out, like Kyle McCord didn't play, or Harrison's sitting. So it's such a skewed score.
Sure. Yeah, I was gonna ask if you guys talked about the Kyle McCord transfer.
Yeah, that was common sense.
Absolutely, and about how I thought it was a sidestep, if not a step back.
I said it was a step down.
I just a little befuddling.
From what I heard, he went there because of the coach from Georgia. He has a relationship with him.
Okay.
So that was the only thing that I heard.
The only true link that actually. Okay.
But
I don't know, man.
Let's pull this bad boy back.
Yeah, we sidebar big time.
So it's so hard to look at this Michigan-Bama game. All year we've been like, because Michigan hasn't played anybody. Yeah, they beat Ohio State. Penn State wasn't really as good as people made them out to be.
That defense kind of ended up folding towards the end of the year.
And then all of a sudden, Alabama at the end of the year, with Milroe kind of playing the way he's playing, it really makes me hard. It makes it a hard game to pick. It really does. I want to pick Michigan, but man, it is hard to pick against Nick Saban and that much time to prep for this game.
I am really rooting against Alabama.
But can you pick, if you had to put money on the game, could you pick Alabama to lose to Michigan?
I don't know. That is tough. I think Alabama is going to be the favorite going into next season with Milroe coming back.
Totally, dude. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. That's, again, why I'm kind of rooting even more against them this season. I mean, traditionally I do just because they are the Empire and
they're
college football.
We West Coast, they're Southeast, so we don't root for Southeast.
Yeah, we don't have that, relationship. We ain't buds.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's really a hard game to pick, but I'm going to take Michigan in a tight one.
I mean, I hope so. I wouldn't bet that.
I don't know if I would either, but I'm definitely not picking Bama to win the fucking game. I'll tell you that.
What about you?
Oh, man. I love these matchups. I've said this since day one. I thought the committee got it right. I think the matchups in the semifinals make for the most compelling potential finals matchup. I think that they fucking nailed this.
Most interesting as far as all teams feel like they got a shot.
Right, correct. And they all feel like they match up fairly well to each other. The Texas-Washington game is going to be phenomenal.
Does anybody know what the over-under is on that game? Well, you got to pick the Michigan game, but does anybody know the over-under on the
I'd have to look.
Texas game?
Yeah.
I bet you it's got to be in the 60s, would be my guess. Thinking. Low 60s, high 50s. I don't know if you're going to get ballsy with it, because it is a bowl game, so maybe they think the defense is playable. Anyway, 1v4 is a great matchup. I think that they really needed to push Michigan opening round, which is exactly what Bama is going to do, especially like you pointed on with the time that Nick Saban has to prepare. This is, you guys are fools. Bama's going to win this game. Yeah,
Call me a fool.
I don't.
I ain't ever picking that fucking team. So.
I don't. Yeah, and that's totally fine. I don't have any allegiance to either. I would rather see Michigan, I suppose, just because of. But then Jim Harbaugh just seems so sleazy to me, and I just can't get behind that. And like, I don't know what that program's doing. There's a report that just dropped this morning that Catapult Inc. Did anybody read this on ESPN?
I saw that.
I saw the headline
about how there was a potential like robbery of like videotaped like sidelines and shit like that.
Yeah, I didn't read it. I saw it.
Ohio State. Yeah.
But Alabama.
In a close one, or are they blowing them out?
It's, dude. Honestly, okay. So here's the thing. I honestly think Alabama will stranglehold. I don't think that offense is going to be as explosive on the Michigan side as they should be, and I think that if
they haven't been explosive all season.
Okay,
really.
Then yeah.
They talk about big plays. I think Michigan was below 100.
I think it's a 10 point. I think it's a 10 point. Gosh, 10. I think it's a 10-point Bama win. I think it's a 10-point Bama.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it.
So no, technically not close. A 2-possession score.
I'm definitely pulling for the winner of the other game, no matter who it is.
So let's jump into the other game. You got number 3, number 2 Washington versus number 3 Texas. Texas has been hot with Ewers since Ewers has come back at the end of the season.
Agreed.
But man, I am not rooting for. I cannot get behind them. I will be a Washington Husky on bandwagon for a little bit.
I'm kind of with you. I mean, I'll give you some love to check. I'm pulling for.
I don't want to.
Washington,
I mean, don't get me wrong,
but man, I don't know. That's a game I might even. I mean,
I don't know.
Betting Texas might be the play.
I don't know who to bet. I think if the play is to bet Texas and Bama, if you're actually going to throw money down. But I'm all Washington Husky to win the whole deal.
But let's hear it from the fan.
Oh man, well come on, like let's not be unbiased here. No, legitimately, I thought out of the 3 teams that made the playoff beside the Husky, this was the best first round matchup. I really think that Texas and Washington mirror each other pretty well. They both want to control the trenches. Washington's O-line, actually, I heard this week, was that they got voted the best overall O-line unit in the nation, so that's pretty sweet. But we are seeing a fierce pass rush in Texas. They're known for their pass rush up there, and we got to keep Penix upright, and we got to keep that pocket clean because he's not a runner. So if they, flip that script and start collapsing the pocket, we could be in some trouble quick.
I think your guys' coach might be able to out-coach.
DeBoer is a hell of a coach from what I have seen over these last couple of years. He really turned that program around. We were I think we had 3 wins 2 years ago before we replaced him, and he just came in and just absolutely wrecked shop.
I mean, he did a great job down at Fresno State. That's where he was before.
Sure.
And then, they always were good with him, and then now up here. So I think he's a hell of a coach. I think Stark's a hell of a coach too, but it seems like DeBoer just has
He's got it, dude.
Yeah,
he's just got that magical feeling, dude. So, I mean, okay. Realistically, this is a coin toss to me in the fact that if Washington does win it, and of course I fucking hope they do, I don't think it's going to be a runaway in any stretch. I think it's going to be a 3 to 5 point game either direction.
Do you know what jerseys you guys are wearing? Is Texas coming out in the white and burnt orange?
Traditionally, all
white.
Well, obviously, so you have to wear, which is kind of nice. In the college football playoff, they don't let you do your fancy shit. You got to wear your flagship, your old school traditionals, your home or aways. You don't get alternates.
You would be purple.
In theory, we would be away, which means we would be in white.
No, you're the home team. You're the home team. You're number 2.
I guess then we'd be. That's right. You're right. As far as 2v3, you're right. So even though we're furthest away from our home,
correct.
Then we'd be in purple. But I hope that it's purple on gold and not all purple, because I really like that gold pant offset of that combination right there. And then no fucking chrome in the helmet. God, we do a terrible chrome helmet. Like it's awful. Like chrome can look good on helmets, but we don't do one well. It's yuck. So keep it matte. It's pretty cool. It does. It works. I think the silver chrome is a better look than the gold chrome. Correct. Yeah. So. But yeah, let's go Huskies. And, it would be our first return to a national championship since like 92 was our last one. So we do have them, but it's been quite the time, 30 years.
I mean, I think it's their best shot.
100%.
This team, I think, as far as deserving, has been the most deserving. I think they've
battle tested as all get out.
I think that's why they should have been number one.
Yeah.
No, but I understand why they're not, because they have a boner from Michigan, and they've been the storyline all year.
I think that's bullshit, though. Michigan.
If you look at resume alone, I know. If you look at resume alone, there's no reason why UW wouldn't have been number one. We had top 25 wins up and down the schedule. Arizona. Now, granted, we barely beat them, but they were a top 15 team at the end of the year. Oregon, top 10 team both times we played them. And who else did we get in there? That was really SC. We had to play Utah. Oregon State was, you know what I'm saying? Like,
but then again, I do like the matchup that they have.
100%. I agree. No, it is the most compelling opening weekend matchups we've had across the board, maybe ever.
Yep.
Like, they really nailed this last Final Four, and shout out to that, and I hope we get some good games. And honestly, man, I just don't want to see it. If it's a shellacking for UW, I'm all for it, but I just don't want to get ran out of the building. Unfortunately, the first time we made the CFP, we played against Bama in the semis, and that was the Jake Browning year, and they just shut him down. We lost like 21-7. It was not close.
But it wasn't close.
No.
Let's jump into the NBA. Some not good news, I guess.
Oh boy.
The poor Pistons are looking to set some losing streaks.
Well, they've already tied it, so yeah, if they lose tonight, it's 29, and it's in the history books.
Yeah,
it's the worst one ever,
dude. And I think we said at the beginning of the year when Monty got hired, we thought Monty would do a good job. Dude, I do not know what the fuck's going on with that team. I haven't watched a lot of Pistons basketball. I thought Cade was going to be sick coming out of Okie State. And he seems to be playing okay points-wise, but maybe they're not playing his team. I don't know. But that's sorry, dude. Yeah. 2 wins on the season. Fuck.
Dude, have you watched any of the Pistons? I don't think any of us probably have.
No, because the NBA was smart, and they knew this. And when we went over the schedule, there was like, what was it, 8 teams that were held off of national games. So unless you're watching the local broadcast, which who's slugging through that? If you're in Detroit, you're focused on the Lions right now. You are not even... Pistons are a fucking, just...
For sure. I was just
behind
curious, what's going on there? I don't know. I feel like Monty Williams is a good coach. I feel they got some talented players. It's just what's not coming together.
I will say, though, that they are, between them and, well, see, this is what's scary about OKC is a sidebar within this, is they've both gone the same direction. Fuck you. They've both gone the same direction in... absorbing a shitload of picks and young talent. Like they're not paying anybody, and both the Pistons and the Thunder have like 7 or 10 first round picks over the next couple of 2-3 years, like between the way that they've ad dropped and like traded people away and like made big deals, and they've taken on a lot of bullshit to try to push forward, in later stages. It's just that the rebuild in OKC has gone a lot quicker than it has in Detroit.
Yeah, because they hit a home run by getting SGA from the Clippers.
Yeah, that one really turned into...
Paul George trade,
Right, exactly, because that's where they got a shitload of equity. They got like 3 fucking... They traded a lot to get him, and then got a lot actually out of him. Correct. When they traded, him away back to the Clippers. So they made that work pretty damn well.
But Chet's playing pretty good this year. That whole Thunder team is just...
I think Detroit is trying to do... They really do have a long-term game plan. And the crazy thing is that since the NBA is a lottery for their draft, the Pistons aren't even guaranteed the number 1 pick. So they could still... They're going to be top 5, obviously. It's protected in that amount. But, they're trying to build through the draft. And yeah, exactly. They haven't... Cade obviously isn't like the generational talent that, like, you know, first overall.
But I feel like basketball doesn't really give you those anymore. You get Wemby, who's played
not every year,
but you don't get a lot of dudes that come anymore in the first round that kind of blow the doors off because they're so young. There hasn't been a lot of like rookies that come in.
Sure, no, which is exactly why I think that the Pistons are going to be a sleeper, because they're doing, like, Orlando's finally paying dividends. They did this where they dumped and they held. They were a recluse. They were terrible for years and years. And
a sleeper, like 3 years down the road, sleeping.
No, don't. This year, what I'm saying, they're competitive this year after being shitty for like 3 to 5 years, like bad, right? And like taking that step back to draft and develop, I think that pays dividends in the NBA big time, because your rosters are so small that you can really hone in on those guys that you want to build up for your franchise. And it sucks to be a Pistons fan right now, but if you're looking long term, like we've just pointed, you got a good coach, you got some good draft picks over the last couple of years. It's just got to click. You got to develop and click. And then, you know, also when you come up, pay who's coming up. Don't just trade right out of the gates again. You got to hold on to somebody at some point, right? Because they're notorious for not paying people.
So we all are in the same. We believe they shouldn't overreact and fire Monty Williams. I don't think he's the coach that is this record right now, but I mean, he doesn't appear. I don't know. Is he not reaching the players? This record is so confusing
because they're through 2 wins.
It's real. I mean, you would expect at least a few more.
Right. Percentages say just by dumb luck you should win a couple more for sure. It's one of those things where I think they knew going into this season, and he had to have as well, moving over to this roster, that they weren't going to be super competitive, even if they were fighting for right. That's the sketchy thing.
Is this bad?
Exactly. They are number 32 out of 32 or 30 out of 30, and it's not even close. Like and even San Antonio had a crazy losing streak, like 17 games or something earlier in the year, and nobody necessarily threw up the disaster flag. You know, like they are right now for 28 is bad, you guys, and I can only imagine as professionals how that makes you fucking feel.
Like, it's gotta be tough in that
it has to be, dude. There has to be no morale. That's the scary. That's what's gonna get your coach fired. Is like if that locker room just dissipates, if it goes away like completely,
he loses them.
Yeah, then you have to move on. Like I think as a GM, that's it. That's pretty much when you have to step in, right?
Do you know when the trade deadline is? End of this month?
No, it just opened, didn't it?
Right, but when's it end? Is it the end of the month?
I want to say it's even further into.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit further.
I want to say it's somewhere in March. I honestly want to say it's like first week of March. Yeah, that's what rings a bell. I want to say it can go through February. Yeah, because sometimes you can have those really, really late fucking trades where a guy comes over for literally the last 25 games or whatever, right after the All-Star break. Because they push the All-Star break back. The NBA season is set up kind of funky in that sense. They play a lot of their games before they play like 50 plus, almost 60 games before the All-Star break, and then they only come back for like 25 regular season games. And you can trade all the way up until then. So yeah, last week of February, first week of March, that's what rings a bell.
Have to look into because I'm interested to see what the Lakers are going to do. I'm hoping they move for one of those Bulls guards. If we could get Caruso back, that'd be sick.
Yeah, or Levine. Rumor is he's on the market too, though, right?
Yeah, he's the one that I just don't know if I want him. I would rather have DeRozan or Caruso.
Fit? You're talking about fit for the team?
Talking about fit.
Sure.
I mean, if he did come over, you would have Levine, LeBron. You would be so tall with AD. With AD and LeBron and Levine, and then even with the other pieces you added, you'd be so tall. You would have such a huge lineup.
I mean, it looks good on paper again, but
I just don't love the Levine trade. Yeah, I love the.
Well, it all depends on what you have to give up.
Well, we're giving up D'Lo.
D'Lo's definitely on the piece.
D'Lo's the one that's probably one of the main. And I just get worried that you start going for like Levine with Price. You got to attach Rui because of the contract situation.
Well, and also because you don't have draft picks really. You've moved so many draft picks over the last 5 years.
We have some now because we
Oh, yeah, the future picks, the 20, 32, and 34, and 36, and they let you trade so far into the future in the NBA.
Right, but if you could just get Caruso and maybe like DeRozan, then you wouldn't have to maybe give up a Rui to get that, because I don't really want to give up Rui.
I think that's maybe why, well, and also it's only 2 rounds, but the NBA draft doesn't pull eyes the same way the NFL draft does, and I think that's because nobody knows the fucking order ever. Nobody knows who controls what picks, like, ever. There's so many trades that have happened over the previous 3 to 5 years that affect this year's draft that you won't remember until it pulls up and it's like, oh, this pick got traded 4 times and now it's the Thunder's choice. Like, okay.
Well, yeah, I think it's that and the combination of impact players. There's just not as many because it takes. They're coming into the league pretty young. They got to develop.
I'm way behind, y'all. Let's get going.
Let's go, man.
Anybody got any other NBA talk they want to chit chat about?
Just stay focused. You're killing it. Don't be an idiot. Don't let that off the court shit get to you.
I just did another dumb thing the other day. They're not sure if he pointed, like, when he made the one basket, if he did like a gun thing.
Don't really care about that. Whatever. Gestures on the court, as long as it's not towards people or fans, I can give a shit less. Fire your guns, whatever. But
not when you're getting in trouble for gun conduct.
Yeah,
I think you gotta have a little bit more headspace on what you're fucking.
I'm with Zach. Man. You got to. I mean, it's stupid, but you got to know. But he's been such a difference maker since he's gotten back. Like, that team is gonna push. It looks like now.
Absolutely.
They still suck. I picked them to finish hella bad. They still suck.
I mean, I think your pick might be bad, though. I think they could get into the playoffs the way they're playing.
Marcus Smart has come back and looked pretty good. They're starting to put those pieces together. They got a lot of time left to develop for this season.
Let's jump into some MLB talk.
What you got for us?
I wanted to start out with a little common sense before we get into free agents.
Okay, a little sidebar common sense. Let's go.
So you got Wander Franco, big deal for Tampa Bay Rays last year. He's been an up-and-coming guy. Then all of a sudden he gets in trouble for dating or sexual relations with underage women. And so he gets put, Rays suspend him, MLB suspends him. So he had a court date in the Dominican Republic last week. Dude didn't fucking show. No show on a court date, dude, on dating or having sexual relations with younger women. And multiple, I think. And I think that's what... And I think we had a common sense about it already because he was a stud. Dude.
Also in his home country.
Correct. Home country.
Not a good look.
No, that's...
You just pissed away your fucking baseball
We
career.
can pretty much say that's an admission of guilt, right? There's not much that you can say because the reason why they set these dates so far in advance so that you know that you have time to get there. It's not like you got, arrested on Tuesday and you got to be in a court by Sunday.
Right. It wasn't like they hey, Chuck, I need you here tomorrow.
Yeah. Cancel your family plans. Fuck your holiday. You got court.
Hit the next plane on down. No, he knew the court date.
Months.
Yeah, court process is slow.
Yeah, dude, and it's just a bad look for him. I mean, he was this up-and-coming shortstop.
Done. Done.
What are the main positions of baseball people look at? Shortstop, center fielder, probably some type of ace pitcher, right?
Pitcher, yeah.
Right, and you're one of the dudes. You're one of the 3 most important positions in the field. And you're having a hell of a good year and having, like, a couple good years now in a row. And you just piss it all down the drain.
Piss it down the drain, dude.
Let's get into some more positive stuff. We know that Show has been signed. And that Yamamoto.
Close. Yakamoto.
No, it's Y-A-M-A Moto.
Yamamoto. I thought it was a K. My bad. Apologies.
Yamamoto gets signed to the Dodgers. The other big free agent, Aaron Nola, signed with the Phillies, so he's staying in Philadelphia.
Okay, so re-sign.
Yeah, so then the next big dogs, obviously Juan Soto get traded to the Yankees. We touched on that a little while ago.
Wee bit, yeah.
Cody Bellinger, first base / outfielder. I really thought the Yankees would make a push for him because he's a left-hander.
He's still out there, right?
Yep, okay, he's a left-hander in that field with right field being such a short porch. I really thought Cody would go there.
Go to Seattle.
Well, the next guy I think has talked about wanting to be in Seattle. Blake Snell,
Cy Young. Yeah, he has. He's a Seattle boy. He went to high school in Seattle, so yeah, he's a local boy up there.
Yep, Cy Young winner last year. So he's talked about wanting to go up there. So that'd be a huge addition to the Mariners. But I don't remember. He just had a visit somewhere else. But I'm an A's fan, but I'd really like to see him go up to Seattle. Get up there with some of those other pieces you guys had.
I think that we regressed a little bit this year, obviously with missing the playoffs, and like Julio had a good but not great year. We had that heater in the middle of the year, but we couldn't.
A good end of the year.
We couldn't bottle that, right?
Yeah, Julio had a good end of the year. Julio's beginning kind of was
and
rough.
then we didn't spend it. We haven't spent anything in free agency, but we have been making trades. We have been dishing people left and right to different rosters, getting prospects, trying to get like more.
That's why I thought you guys were really up for show when you guys started. I was like, man, they're making room. They're making room.
Well, I think that's exactly why the reason why the contract was as big as it was from the Dodgers, because they were like, nobody on earth is going to touch this. They put it $200 million above any other franchises.
The Giants were right there.
Yeah, but still, maybe at what, 500, 600 million?
Giants had the same number.
Really? I didn't hear
He said
that.
He doesn't want to play in the city of San Francisco because he doesn't want to live in that city or
I don't
play in that
necessarily
ballpark.
blame
the
him for
ballpark
that.
too. Yeah, that's what I heard.
I wouldn't want to live in LA though
Be
either.
able to hit balls,
But he doesn't have to live in like the shitty part of LA. He can live in the rich parts of LA right now. And that's what Buster Posey came out. Sidebar: Buster Posey came out as of recently and talked about the reason that free agents don't want to come to San Francisco is because of how bad the city's gotten. As of with like you got all the homeless, you got people on the streets shooting heroin right by the ballpark. It's and then living in the city itself is
it's
a pain
not
in the
the
ass.
destination that it once was by any means.
And it's kind of, and then that's what Show came out and said he did not want to live in that city or play in that ballpark. And with LA, you can live in different parts of LA and still be able to, with San Francisco, you're kind of not able to do that.
Which sucks as a Giants fan, but I get it. It's not a great look. And the Dodgers become like the evil empire of the West with these deals that they've made this offseason.
Me and Chuck were kind of talking about this last week, and it kind of like we can be mad at the Dodgers, but I wish my team would do shit like this.
Oh yeah, no, I think it's actually good for baseball as much as I hate the Dodgers because they become the villain. They're going to be the favorite,
right? They kind of have been already. But
I mean, this is like the next step though with the off season and how they're
this really stamps. This puts a target on their back for sure.
Mookie has the same deal that Show has. Mookie's getting a deferred contract too, so they're not really paying Mook or paying fucking Show.
Man,
dude.
so when those rent checks come due, oh my God, they're gonna be. I mean, once again, that ownership group is so wealthy, deep billions behind
but I
them.
mean, it's kind of been proven, at least as of recently, that spending all that money doesn't always work out.
100%. No, yeah. Agreed.
But still, like I think a really good bet would be not this season, but the following season. I think the Dodgers could possibly break the regular season wins in baseball just with that roster.
And I think
nobody's touching that record. Let's go, M's.
I don't think you're wrong.
I think you got to start looking.
You think I'm wrong a lot, Trevor, and that's okay.
I think you got to start looking, if you're the Dodgers, to move and Show to like some type of reliever role or some type of closer role.
Yeah, you're not getting 100 pitches out of him every start.
No,
moving forward, right?
Let's save greatness, right? Let's save it.
I like that expression. That's a good one.
Let's keep this going. Let's keep
watching as much long as we can.
For real, dude, because it's insane what he's doing. So let's get his elbow healthy and then get him some type of closer role. I think that'd be a sick spot for him. Next on the list, so we were talking about the Giants. Next one on the list, Matt Chapman, old Blue Jay, third baseman. But with Melvin taking the coaching job in San Francisco, Matt Chapman is definitely on
the radar.
And I think that's like a number one landing spot for a Matt Chapman would be the Giants. After that, you got a lot of pitchers. Sonny Gray, I don't know if he signed yet. Josh Hader, I think he has signed. Rodrigo Rodriguez did sign with somebody. Luis Giolito just signed with the Red Sox. Yep. That helps that pitching staff. But there's not a lot of huge names. Rhys Hawkins signed, not with the Phillies. He blew out his knee, or his Achilles or his knee. And then remember, Bryce took over at first base, so that kind of made room for Rhys to kind of go out the door. This isn't the big, once Show and a couple of those other guys got signed, this isn't the big free agent market that we had like last year. I think last year
was bonkers.
I think the next one, this one like coming up, is going to be huge too. But yeah, like last year we had like 4 shortstops, remember? All that movement.
Well, we had huge, not that Show wasn't a huge contract, but we had multiple huge trades and contracts come out within like weeks of each other. And like, it was actually eyeballs were on the MLB in the offseason, which is traditionally not how that sport functions. And that's why this Show drama should have been dragged out more. It would have been a lot better for baseball.
And that's why you saw like the Busteronis and the Jeff Passons were kind of like, this Show's free agency kind of sucked. like not having all the rumor mill going on, not like letting teams talk.
Absolutely.
Didn't give us any of that off-season drama that we're like used to seeing.
Well, that just humans gravitate towards. We love hearing the whispers and the smoke. We do.
Dude, we go through our Bleacher Report apps or Yahoo apps or whatever, and you're like reading every. Oh, dude, this reported this. Oh, this reported this.
There's nothing better than those weeks right before the combine, then the combine, and then those following weeks of pure speculation. That is just NFL gold, right?
Jeez. I know,
because there's smoke coming from everywhere. Who's gonna trade what? Who likes who? Where
who's moving up the board?
We gravitate towards that stuff. Like that is just how narratives work.
I feel like the first 5 picks could almost already be made.
No, I think it's the exact opposite. I think that there's going to be a lot of madness.
I do too, but I think the first 5 prospects are pretty
just
close.
Depending on what teams are there and the need for those prospects.
Yeah, you got those 2-3 quarterbacks, the receiver, and then the tackle.
But NFL is king when it comes to the draft. There's no better draft in sports.
Well, baseball's got like 32 fucking rounds or something.
Yeah, so does hockey. Hockey's got 1 million rounds too. And they do mid-season drafting. They're drafting for next year in the middle of the active season.
Yeah, but it's because they draft right after the what do they call it? The Ice Four, when hockey has their like March Madness and they get like the Final Four and they play like
the Frozen Four.
The Frozen Four. As soon as that's over, they're doing like the NHL draft.
Right,
like
you gotta go, son. We need your talents. So
we're gonna refill our beers whenever we finish. Me and Trevor closer than Charles, but he'll.
I don't know, man. I gave it one little chuggarooski. I'm right about at the same level you are.
Yeah, he'll catch up, and then
I can do these things.
We're gonna hit second segment with a bunch of NFL talk. Give you updated playoff spots. And then there's a lot of quarterback stuff that I think needs to be talked about.
What a crazy year for quarterbackness in multiple levels, and I can't wait to get into it.
And then the Russell Wilson thing is kind of what spurred this whole talk that we're going to have about who's got quarterbacks, who doesn't have quarterbacks, how crazy this whole thing is. So,
Russ, you got benched because you didn't want to forego some money.
Dude, and he came. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Stay tuned.
We'll check in a minute.
Grab a beer.
Welcome back to Balls and Brews. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Hell yeah, welcome back. That sounds real good.
Got the highlight on the mic. This can I really like. Got the hop skull on it.
Oh, that is good.
Let's show it off a little bit.
I got you, Charles.
All right. Thank you. So, this is from our boys at Lost Coast.
Dude, I cannot believe it took us so long to have a Lost Coast beer on the pod. And I can't believe I kind of forgot. Because Lost Coast is one of my favorite breweries. And it took us a while to have it. And now we've had 2 in the last couple weeks.
I was going to say, now we're just smacking them down.
Yeah.
It's funny, that it doesn't have a name. It's just their hazy IPA. Lost Coast Hazy IPA. Drinks at a 6.7 out of Eureka, California. And I would say after the backbone of the West Coast IPA, I think we all pretty much agree with this, that we prefer this lane of IPA more. I know Zach, I know for sure.
This is like so far up my alley. I love it. It's such a good beer. It definitely has that, like, obviously you can see color-wise. Like, definitely got the haze.
A little bit more juicy. Sure.
And it definitely juicy on the back end. It says it's got the passion fruit passion fruit and grape and blueberry for the forefront. I think I get more passion fruit than anything, but it's definitely right, more passion fruit. I don't know if I get the blueberry, but it's definitely like
I don't know. I might taste the blueberry more than the passion fruit. To be fair, yeah.
I thought that was a little bit more subtle. I get a little bit more of the passion. I feel like,
but it is nice that it does have those fruit notes that it does say it elicits. The worst thing is reading a label and it sounds delicious, and then you drink it and you're like, well, I don't get any of that. Yeah.
with most hazy, sometimes or most every time, once I see it's hazy, I turn and look, how hazy is it gonna be? Like, how many fruits am I getting?
It's it's also why I try to feature if they describe it as juicy, I'm far more inclined to want to drink that beer.
Oh, me too. I want it so juicy.
You kind of want it looking like orange juice sometimes, right? That real unfiltered, like unpasteurized, like.
That's why we like those. The milk. No, the milks.
Oh, the milks. Yes.
Anything with lactose has got my milk.
Yeah, the milkshake beers that fucking Lee Dog does, because dude, they are like it's so hazy.
Anything that's got lactose has got my vote at this point. Like, I've not had a bad lactose beer.
So I got another beer thing to talk.
Second beer segment. Let's go, Downey.
I'm not gonna name said bar. I went to a bar.
An unnamed bar.
Yeah, with some friends.
Thou shalt who not be named.
Should have taken a picture of what I had. But I had a brown. Can't remember what brown it was.
Was it their brown?
No.
Okay.
No, it wasn't. It was yeah. So get a brown. It's really good. Get another beer, and the person brings it out and goes,
Different beer.
Here's your Moose Drool. But I ordered the brown again.
Oh, okay. So the Moose Drool was the brown.
No. Moose Drool was a different beer. There was another brown, and then there was the Moose Drool.
Okay.
So do you think that the keg ran out, and they just gave me the Moose Drool, and not the brown? Because then I ordered it again, and it took forever for it to come out. And I think it might have been the brown again, but I couldn't. Well,
Moose Drool is a brown,
right? But it wasn't the first brown because there was a definite, distinct
difference.
Yes, there was. The first brown was way more brown, like a deep brown, like a really good brown beer. Where Moose Drool is like easy brown, right?
I mean, I think that would depend more on your experience if you're able to tell. Just because is the waiter a fuck up or is like you said, did the keg tap out?
And then they just gave me another brown because I had a brown.
They should tell you.
Right.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I'm with Chuck there. They should tell you either if you want to wait and get that or this is all we have.
Because they literally came over and said Moose Drool. And like I was with, obviously my wife Angelique and Josh and Kai and Grayson. And they were like, did you get Moose Drool this time? And I was like, no, I got the brown. And you could tell head-wise, and it was the brown. The other brown I had was a browner beer. Like it was more brown flavor.
It could have been, and you had the same server for both beers.
All three.
Okay.
And I think I got Moose Drool for the back two, and only got the brown for the first one.
Then the keg tapped, and they should have told you that this is the brown that they're replacing it with. The thing is...
Well, it was next on the list.
Right.
It was one above mine.
Sure. So what it means is that most people can't tell the fucking difference. Like, most people aren't going to know the difference in browns. Let's be real about it. Like,
but I was so disappointed.
Right, because we've gotten you to drink real beer, and you like to enjoy the differences of you want what you want.
Has that ever happened to you guys before?
Not only, I guess I would say I've always been told. When I've never, unless, like, I've ordered a beer and then had them bring me the wrong beer and then be like, you ordered this, right? And it's like, no. Versus, like, they knew that the keg tapped and they didn't tell me that they were bringing another beer. I don't know if I've experienced that.
Because they literally walked over and said, here's your Moose Drool, and put it down. And I was like, wait.
Nope. I didn't order that.
Did you follow up with them and say, hey, I meant to order such and such? Because you said you ordered a third time. Yeah, and they still said that they had it?
And then read the brown again off the menu. And then, yeah. And Moose Drool came back.
Maybe they just thought Moose Drool was the only... I don't know. That's weird.
It was
especially
weird.
If it's the same person.
Yeah.
See, that's where
but she kind of was a fuck up.
Whoa. I was just going to go there, though, as far as maybe the server didn't know there was another brown.
That's what I'm thinking. She just didn't know what and just said Moose Drool because she didn't understand that the other one was a brown.
She's not a beer drinker.
Yeah.
That's not an excuse, okay? Like, I'm sorry when you.
I still drink them, like but I'm also not a bitcher. Like, unless it comes out and it's like obviously not like.
I'm not when it comes to food, you don't fuck with the people.
I don't fuck with people.
You don't send shit back. I really don't, because I'm a junkyard dog anyway. I'll pretty much eat and drink whatever.
I eat whatever the fuck you put in front of me.
Exactly.
Anyway,
except for running fast food eggs
or mushrooms and shit like that.
Love mushies.
Let's get into some of this quarterback talk. Okay. So.
Well, no, we're gonna do standings first.
Oh yes, standings. Sorry.
So yeah, we're gonna give a quick update because
AFC
right now
standing,
which is quite insane because as it sits, the Browns, who just clinched a playoff spot, still mathematically have a chance to get the first overall spot.
Correct.
They sure do,
dude. I know I had him on my hot list this year for Kevin Stefanski.
Way wrong about that one.
Coach of the year.
He's got to be right now.
And remember, everybody, keep intact at the end of the season. We're gonna have a Balls and Brews award ceremony for what we pick.
Oh, damn.
Oh, yeah. Were you talking about
just for our own glory, what we called right.
Yep.
I'm not going to get any of those awards.
No, not what we call right. We're going to have our own awards. We're going to hand out our own MVPs. Balls and Brews
because,
MVPs.
Because that's another thing I want to touch on in this NFL segment. We'll get to that.
Yeah. All right, read it off, T-Man.
So, I mean, the top two, Baltimore and Miami, they play this Sunday. They're the morning game. Which,
golly, they didn't flex them at all.
I'm a little bit surprised because
East
that
Coast
is
games,
the top matchup.
It is, but it's an East Coast game, so it makes sense. It's 1 o'clock their time. That's like a perfect time to watch football. Sunday, 1 o'clock, you're going to get a shitload of eyes on that game.
True. And then both the primetime matchups this week are division games. Right. So at least it's that.
Okay.
So yes, Baltimore 12-3, Miami 11-4.
Who did Baltimore beat last week?
I mean, the 49ers.
You keep going, Trev. You keep going on that.
You
don't have to take that shit.
I was going to touch on this later in the maybe the fandom, but since we're here, we'll talk.
Sidebar. Yeah. I'm also not giving shit. Those are the facts, bro. I'm not.
Those are the facts. It was a bad game. It doesn't mean the Niners are a bad team. Doesn't mean Purdy's a bad quarterback. The media, or that's going to be the narrative, of course.
That's going to be part of the QB segment for sure. It has to be.
But yeah, it was.
Either way, the Ravens are the class of the AFC right now, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
So they deserved number 1. Miami beating Dallas is a deserved number 2. So the fact that they have a regular season matchup in Week 17 is fucking elite.
Oh my!
That's fucking killer, you guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of matchups this week that have huge playoff implications.
Big time.
Who's next on the? We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Okay.
All right. Go for the next. Who's 3-4?
All right. So we got Kansas City hanging on to that third spot at 9-6,
showing lots of deficiencies offensively, which we didn't think would happen, and it's happening.
And with the 4 spot too, Jacksonville hanging on to that 4 seed.
Dude, that defense
3 and 4 are struggling for that 3 and 4 spot.
That defense and offense cannot seem to play at the same time.
And Lawrence is out this week.
If the AFC West was not as weak as it is behind Kansas City, this would be the first year that they've really been pushed in the Patrick Mahomes starting era. Yep. But it's just not happening because all of the 3 behind them are not even. Nobody has even 8 wins, right?
Nope. We're fighting. We're fighting.
Okay.
All right. So who's the first wild card?
So the first wild card, Cleveland, who has a better record than both Kansas City and Jacksonville, sitting at 11-5. Joe Flacco, what?
Cheers, Flacco.
I'll drink. I will.
Dude, come on. He was sitting on a couch showing a football with his kids, dude.
Was he not a backup somewhere already?
Dude, how in the fuck didn't the Jets go get him? The Jets told him no. How big of a miss is that?
Which is crazy because they were working with him.
Hold on, there's a different point, though. There's a different point. Go ahead, Trev.
I just got to say, I don't think the Jets are as good if he's on the Jets. That team is more...
Correct.
They're not as complete as the Cleveland Browns at this point.
Correct.
Aaron Rodgers, I believe, would make up for a lot of deficiencies, but
the Jets are not a good football team.
I don't think they would be good even with Flacco.
Garrett Wilson would have looked a lot better, though, with Flacco. He throws that deep ball. Oh, dude, no, there's no question about Flacco's deep ball.
No, I'm not
The question
questioning.
is the offensive line.
Correct, that's what I was going to say.
Not escaping
and getting a statue back there doesn't help. That's true.
Flacco's not going to be able to get the deep ball out. That Jets offense line is so bad.
Very true.
So Cleveland still has a chance to, if something stumbles, to still get the number 1 seed if Baltimore stumbles in the last game.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, if Miami can overtake
Kevin Stefanski, we just talked about Coach Year. So who's 6-7? So 6. Because remember, we get 7 now.
I'm glad with 6. Buffalo's that team you don't want to play at 9-6, man. That they've been so much better with Brady as their OC.
Correct. And
I like Brady, so I'm rooting for him. I still question that team with some of the injuries that they've had.
Yes, defensively they're kind of beat up, but they've been playing pretty good defensively the last couple of weeks, and Josh has not been turning the ball over, but they've also been running the football a little bit better too.
Okay, and since we're on the Bills right now, I got to bring it up that the MVP voting, it's week to week, depending. Like last week, it was Purdy and Lamar because those are the best teams in the NFL. And this week, it's going to be Tua and Lamar because they're the best teams in the AFC.
I think it's Tyreek over Tua, personally.
Well, I was about to say that Josh Allen, his numbers are comparable to Lamar's.
Correct.
He has more passing and rushing touchdowns, but more interceptions. The yardage of rushing and passing is close.
Correct.
Like, that's another reason I believe that MVP should not be a quarterback.
Here's
award.
the thing when it comes to those two specifically, if I could interject here, is that Josh Allen has costed the Bills games. Lamar has not done that. And I think that's the very big difference between the two of them currently.
Go for it, Trev.
I agree, but no quarterback this season has put up those eye-popping numbers. It's all been like, okay, you're the best quarterback of a good team, and you haven't made big mistakes. Is that what the award is, or is it for the best player in the league? Because that's not the same thing.
No, agreed. Go for it, Downey.
That's why last week on the pod we ranted about Matt Stafford should be in the MVP voting because what he's doing with who he has and his numbers.
You have to take into account the word valuable.
Correct,
it's
and
not
it doesn't
the best player. It's the most valuable to their team,
and that never comes up. And I feel like baseball's one of the only sports that actually gets the
This is
valuable
the exact point that we made last week.
We argued that baseball's the only sport that gets the valuable part right.
NHL does it pretty well too, to be fair.
Because you get people like Mike Trout win MVPs when they don't make the playoffs. It doesn't always have to be the best player. It doesn't always have to be the quarterback on the best two teams. Yeah. It can be people like Tyreek. And I don't think that, and I argued last week, or didn't argue, me and Chuck talked about it, that CMC should have been higher than Purdy anyways.
Agreed.
Because I think you could argue that Trent Williams should be higher than CMC. I named like 5 or 6 people, Chuck, last week that were like kind of more important to the Niners, and Purdy wasn't shitting on Purdy.
Yes,
but
exactly.
Was just saying that
I'm 100% with you. It's sure we can all agree quarterback is the most important position in sports, but when you have a year where there's not that guy that's just lifting the team, then it should go to a guy like McCaffrey, Myles Garrett.
Tyreek Hill, Max Crosby can make an argument. What do you do for your team? The value of your team. Chuck said it. MVP. The V is never taken into consideration.
It's not MVP, most best player.
It's not even the best player. It should be like most quarterback.
It's
best
value.
Team.
It's gotta come back to value.
Right.
If you take certain guys off of certain teams, what's the value of that team? As soon as you strip Tua, that Miami offense looked flat. As soon as you stripped Tyreek. I'm sorry. You're so right. Not Tua. I meant Hill. Yeah.
As soon as Tyreek was gone,
poof, flat. Even with all those other weapons and everything, Tyreek is valuable.
Correct.
You take.
Quick sidebar. I just love that.
I think we're in a sidebar.
It is. You're right. But I just love it that Tua calls Tyreek Reek. That's his nickname for the Dolphins. I'm sorry. All right, continue.
That's short and effective sidebar. Yeah. I just think that the MVP has been so skewed recently. It's the same with the Heisman. Mm-hmm. You got to get rid of the idea that it's just these quarterbacks because it's not about value. It's just if you're putting position over value on the person of that team, like I just don't like that. Then you have to change the name of the award.
Can we roll back? Can we roll back into
the actual seeding? That was. Are we on? Did we get to number 7 yet?
No, Buffalo 6.
Okay, right. Number 7 is we are talking about playoffs here, by the way.
So there are 4 teams with an 8-7 record. The Colts come in at the top.
Okay.
After that, you get Houston.
Yeah, we got Houston, we got Pitt, and we got Cincinnati. The 7 and 8 teams technically aren't out of it.
Stay back.
Thank you. So, I mean, the Raiders and Denver are on the cusp.
And the Raiders have huge fucking game this week.
Yes.
With the Colts. We took that game in the bet, Chuck did. I told him in text message.
Who did that?
I told him in text messages, all you Raider Nation people, that if we lose, it's Chuck's fault. So bring that. And
good, and I hope they lose.
I got another sidebar. I love it when one of us takes one of our teams that isn't ours. It takes like a team.
It's the one that because I looked at the Rams, the other one that we took with the Rams. That one kind of made sense to me. I was looking at that too, and I'm like, I don't know. That line made sense to me. Indy, I think, is now sloping down, and I've been high on them. We bet them a lot, and they've kind of letting us down. So
still, I feel
they
like
ruined my 3-teamer last week. I had my own 3-teamer, and all the other teams pulled through.
Oh damn.
But Raiders Colts this week, that changes that. And CJ, if it's a winner of that, kind of cements. If Raiders win, it kind of keeps them in the race. If Indy loses, it kind of still keeps them in the race. And then is CJ playing this week, or is CJ back?
He should be. He's missed a couple weeks.
He's been cleared. He's been fully cleared. He's coming.
As far as the 8 and 7 teams go, I feel like they're the most exciting with him in the lineup. So I'm hoping that they can pull it out.
We touched on our biggest surprises last week was one of the
questions,
the flyer questions that we talked about, and CJ Stroud was my biggest surprise because he's
Stroud
got that team fucking moving, dude. Well ahead of schedule.
Yes. Chuck, what are we looking like in the
the NFC?
Yeah.
So your boy over here with that symbol on his chest should be pretty proud, puffing it out. 11-4 for the San Francisco 49ers, sitting atop the NFC because they'll hold the tiebreaker over the Eagles
and the Cowboys
at number 2.
And just gotta hold out. Got the Commanders this week. I feel that should be a layup. The Rams might be a game.
That's going to be a tough one.
The Rams are fighting for their own playoff life.
Correct.
So, yes, that's great. That bodes so well for the Seahawks because they're
not out of it either.
Yeah. Who's the number 2 there, Charlie?
Number 2 is the Eagles at 11-4 as well because the Niners hold the heads-up tiebreaker, and they have a much better division record
Can we pause on them real quick?
Sure, let's go for it. What do you got side by?
No, just pause it on them. Dude, they are not necessarily playing the best football right now. Them being 11-4 is kind of a tricky 11-4.
Agreed. But here's the thing.
It's been all season, really.
It has.
It's finally caught up to them.
But I will take a shaky 11-4 than a settled 4-11.
No, I know.
If you know you're fucking bad, then
no. I'm just saying I think that the Eagles might be a one and doneer. They're going to run into somebody.
No, they've still been really good at CenturyLink, and they're going to get a home game. So
it just depends on who they play. Right now, matchup wise, kind of. Depending on what
Seattle, a team that beat them, but we were at home.
And I feel like that game could go either way. I'm kind of looking for the matchups at this point. Like I feel like Detroit and LA for the Rams would be an interesting Stafford golf revenge.
Detroit is 3 right now.
Yep.
They've sewn up the North. They're also 11-4, but they have the least tiebreaker advantages. So right now, 1, 2, and 3 are all 11-4,
right?
And they all still control pretty much. The Niners control their own destiny. If they win out, they are the number 1 seed by tiebreakers.
And that game is today, Detroit and Dallas.
Yeah, that's right. That is true.
Tonight.
Which is, I would say, bigger for the Lions than it is for the Cowboys because with the tiebreaker over, being under the Eagles already, the Cowboys aren't playing for the same spot. The Cowboys are going to be the wild card. They're going to be the 5 seed. The Eagles are either going to be 1, 2, or 3. So the Eagles have more to play for, and so do the Lions.
Who's the 4 seed, Charlie?
The 4 seed would be, right now it's the Bucs. We're going to get into our QB talk with Baker Mayfield and how we feel about him. But right now the Bucs are at least over 500. So shout out to that because that NFC South is fucking lackluster, dude. As far as the top to bottom, it's by far the weakest conference or division, and we knew that.
Outside of the Panthers, though, the other 3 teams are all pretty close, which happened last season too. They are all right there.
Yeah, but they're all sub. They're all meh. Like it would be, I don't know, dude. That mushy middle isn't gonna get you too far, in the long run.
Yeah.
So 5 in the first wild card is Dallas. We've mentioned that because they are sitting at 10-5 right now. Yeah, because they haven't played this week. And then 6 is 6 is the Rams and 7 is the Seahawks, both at 8 and 7. But the Rams hold a tiebreaker over the Seahawks right now, so that's why they are the higher.
Need a little help.
Oh yeah, they have 2 heads-up games against us. They beat us. They swept us.
Who's? Is there anybody that's fighting? Who's next?
Yeah, up fighting would be the Saints at 7 and 8 in the NFC South, and then you're gonna also have the other team in the NFC South, which is gonna be the Falcons at 7-8 as well. So that's where you're saying that division is close, but they're not going to make the wild card. They got to come back and try to beat the Tampa Bay Bucks in the last 2 games.
Is Minnesota right there too?
Yes, that is correct. They were in
the Vikings this.
No, they are the Vikings
this week.
Sorry,
for the top of the North.
Yes. That is not for the behind the Lions. Yeah. I don't think that game necessarily makes a difference. I think that there's too many teams in front of both the Packers and Minnesota with easier schedules. Because Minnesota still has to play the Lions again. It's a lot like how the Eagles and the Giants are doing their 2 games in 3 weeks at the end of the season. That's the Lions in Minnesota. So
sidebar, that's always weird to me when you're playing the same team within a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's a bad job scheduling. Straight up.
You didn't like how we did it this year? Because normally we do the spread where we do one at like the first 4 weeks and then we hit like somewhere around 12 or 13. But we did, 13 and 15 is how we did it this year.
I prefer it when it's a little bit more spaced out because the team grows and it changes from the start of the season to the end of the season.
100%. Sure.
So when you're playing a team just within a couple weeks, it just seems, I don't know. Always with division matchups, knowing each other as well as you do, you're gonna play each other tight. I feel like most of the time.
Typically, yes.
But I feel like having the bigger gap between the games gives you a better perception of
your
changes
team overall.
Your team overall of how they change.
Sure. So there's the NFC race. I honestly think the NFC race doesn't change. I think it stays the exact same way it does, really. Other than maybe
the Lions,
Detroit being able to get up, to the 2 seed.
That's what I would see. That's the only move I can make. I don't know. Eagles get the Giants, and then do you know who they get? Who's the other?
Yeah, team? Cardinals. They play the Cardinals and the Giants. Yeah, Giants, Cardinals, Giants. They had the easiest jerk off schedule for the last 3 weeks.
So probably not. They're not probably moving. So
they shouldn't lose. The same. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I would say there's far more drama in the AFC.
I think the AFC number 7th spot has a ton of drama on it.
Oh, absolutely, dude. There's so many teams right there in the tiebreakers. You're going to see it go down to the 4th or 5th tiebreaker kind of thing.
And that's great to have that kind of not knowing that 7th
That's
spot.
Why they added the 7th seed. That's exactly why they put it there. Brilliant marketing by the NFL for sure. So, Zach, what are we busting into now, man?
Well, we got this quarterback talk.
There's so much quarterback talk.
It all kind of spurred on with the Russell Wilson news that came out.
Oh boy, let's get into it.
So let's just start with his news.
That is the hottest. That is the hottest. What everybody's talking about right now.
Yeah. So reports came out that he was sitting, and we're like, "Oh man, he's sitting." Okay, and then all of a sudden, another report comes out that it's because of the contract stuff, and then he actually came out and said, "Yeah, I didn't want to take the injury clause out, so they sat me for the next 2 weeks." So he is now benched. And Russell Wilson will be probably released, I'm guessing, kind of like Carr was. I'm guessing it's going to be the exact same Derek Carr kind of situation that the Raiders had. I feel like that, it'll be like whatever date he can get traded by, but nobody's going to trade for him, and he'll get released just like Carr did.
Well, yeah, because teams don't have any incentive to trade for him because they know the team has to release him. Otherwise, $89 million become guaranteed. It's the following year and 2025 on March of 2024. So if they cut him before that date, they're still looking at swallowing like $49 million in dead cap.
It's not. It's
you got 1 year rather than being linked to a guy that you've just painted the picture. You no longer trust him, right?
So, it came up under the contract disputes, but this has to... I feel like it has to be more... There's a bigger picture here. Sean McVay... Sean Payton, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. Sean McVay didn't retire halfway through this season.
Yes.
Damn.
Miss. But...
It's them laughs. They are rough. I love this 3 mic, though. Let's go.
But... What do you think? Do you think that
it's Peyton or is it Wilson's
with what we've seen on the sideline in Denver? Just the marriage between Peyton and Russell just doesn't seem like it was ever gonna work out.
And right now they're sitting at 14. So if they lose the next 2 weeks, you never know. They could get up into the 10.
Oh, you're talking in the draft
in the
order.
draft
Gotcha,
wise. So they're sitting at 14 in draft. They lose this week, and then they get the Raiders week 17.
18,
whatever, week 18. Yeah, 17th game, week 18. So they lose the next two, depending on the Raiders are in front of them. They have to win a couple wins. Depending on Saints, Packers, Falcons are all right there ahead of them too. You get up in the top 10, now you're getting Sean Payton to take whatever quarterback that he wants to take to develop. Whether he wants this one, you know who also looks like a lot like Drew Brees? Kid that plays at Washington. Penix. So he doesn't even have to take a quarterback in the first round, depending on how the Penix stuff plays out. He could end up taking somebody here, and then he could take Penix later on if he doesn't take Jaden or somebody. But I think it's Russ is out. We're taking a quarterback that Sean wants, and it's Sean's.
So I got a question about Russ. Like, it doesn't appear that him and Peyton were all on the same page from the get up. And I thought maybe with the team starting to win games that maybe that would change. But I got a question. Is that this just them not being on the same page, or does Peyton feel that maybe he lost kind of the locker room?
Can I go first, Chuck? Since I think you have, a bigger statement on this. I have two. I have one theory, two theories.
We're gonna talk about the first one.
Spit it.
My first one is that he didn't love the wristband to start with. So does that mean that he is not calling the plays that are coming in, so he's kind of making his own up? And two is he never really played on time in Seattle, right? And I think that some stuff gets lost in these quarterbacks that move around. I still think playing on time in offenses and knowing who's your first read, second read, third read, and is still a more efficient offense. And if you can run, it's great. But I still think being on time is more important than anything, which makes me scared about some of the kids coming out from this draft. But is he just, because he did his best work in the fourth quarter scrambling for Seattle all the time? So is he really? And the other thing that makes me worry is the height thing now starting to come into play. You've seen now he struggled kind of in pocket. Bryce Young kind of has struggled in pocket. You've seen Baker struggle a little bit in pocket. Is the height thing actually a worry that people have kind of blown out of the water? Is it actually a worry? So there's a couple different things with him. Maybe he just doesn't have it, and maybe he was just great at being out of not playing on time.
Ad-libbing. And yes. that was the question I had as well, too, and you expanded upon it. It was there was that talk in Seattle where he was kind of running his own thing, where the coach would call in a play and he would change it or he would adjust it to maybe better fit him, but not going with how the offense was intended. And I'm sure you could speak on this more than anybody.
I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah. Okay. So the problem with Russ is that he is the definition of a system player. And in Seattle, we ran his system. It's why he worked so well within that. Sean Payton he's dynamic in the way that he wants to run his offense. He likes motion. He likes different receivers in different packages. He likes using running backs in different ways. Seattle wasn't that. When Russell Wilson is the absolute most successful version of himself, it's playing off of the play action with a strong run game, and yes, he can improvise. His improvisation, his pocket awareness is now it's caught up to him a little bit, but when he was younger, it was unmatched. He could move around the pocket, and he could sense where guys were coming from, and he would step up and go back, and he knew that kind of shit very, very well. But when he has a clean pocket, he throws one of the prettiest deep balls. He was one of the best deep ball throwers for years in a row. So that's his strength, is playing off of the play action with posts and streaks. And that's not what Peyton's offense is. They're just not a mesh for each other. And with the drama queen aspect that Russell brings to that, because he's always got to be Russ. He's always got to be number one.
That's the problem with him as well. It came down to the deferring of money that they knew he wasn't due, but I don't blame Russ for saying, fuck no, I'm going to just waive off $37 million guaranteed.
They gave you that contract.
Yeah, that was exactly. And that was like fucking 14 months ago. That wasn't even like a super, super, super long time ago. But no, the thing about Russell Wilson is that he, in a system that is effective with his talents, is great. And he can improvise. He's a little older. When he was playing his best games with Denver in the later part of this year, was using his legs. He was running. He was getting like 50, 60 yards per game, but only throwing for 200 and maybe like one touchdown, but no picks. Efficient. That's all we needed out of him in Seattle because we had the defense that was up fucking here. We had the Legion of Boom. When Russ was like Russ, we had a top 10 defense every year. Like, I don't think Russ is a bad quarterback, but I think that he's not right for Denver. And I do applaud Denver for understanding that and not trying to... They already lost this between the draft capital that they gave up and then the contract. Yeah, between money and draft capital and trade. Yeah, no, Denver lost. This is the biggest L maybe in NFL history if you think about it.
They're going to have to sell low, but I think that still can be a big buy for a team that's in need, that's not going to get one of these quarterbacks that falls to them.
Well, let's talk about... So I made these 4 categories. No doubt teams. Obviously, you don't need a quarterback. Do they need a quarterback or do they got somebody on the roster? Fuck yeah, you need a quarterback. And huge questions. So we'll go through the no doubters real quick just to get them off the board, right?
Let's do it.
Bills, Dolphins, right? Nothing there.
No, so we just... no.
Ravens, Bengals, you're set. Right, Burrow is hurt, but he's coming back.
Yeah, you're not taking a chance on somebody.
And even Brownings look pretty good.
Yeah, it's about Jags, Texans, CJ's stud. Trevor's had a regression.
Still proven enough, but still proven enough. He'll be fine with Peterson. That regime will stay.
I wrote Colts in here because you drafted Anthony Richardson, so you're probably not looking at another.
With how early he went out this year was like week 4, right?
So you can't see him.
He's on. God, that's a marker to remind me of actually how long the NFL season is. Because even though it feels hella fast, Anthony Richardson feels like he's been dead to the NFL for an eternity.
And then a team that also is in the South, you can almost say all 4 teams in the South don't need a quarterback. Do you think that the Titans should land on the need a quarterback?
No.
Or
Levis has shown enough to develop. Levis has shown enough to prove that he needs to be moved forward as number 1.
Yes. Yeah, I like his highlights. I think it's too
big
soon
ass
to move
arm,
off of him.
Big ass arm, athletic, strong. Like, he just needs to be that refined. He's got all the tools. And I think that Tennessee knew that. They got lucky enough to even get him in the second round. Dude. To be fair, though, that kind of works more out in Levis's favor because now he gets potentially 2 years as a starter, and instead of having to wait for the 3rd and 4th year, he gets to negotiate damn quickly because he's a second-round pick. So
that's crazy to think that the whole AFC South is set on the quarterback.
Which is bonkers because they're not that great of a division. You would think that, you're right.
That's crazy, right? Yeah. So then you get to the Chiefs and Chargers. Obviously, you don't need quarterbacks. And
thank God free Herbert. I'm not saying I'm a huge Charger fan, but thank God for you, bro. I hope that they find somebody to dial him in. He's so good. He's so good.
The Chargers more watchable. And
God, exactly. As just wanting to see better football. Exactly.
We said it earlier in the pod. Want to see greatness be great.
Always. Except for Tom Brady.
After that, so let's say AFC teams. The NFC teams don't have as many. I wrote Eagles. Obviously, Jalen's had a little bit of aggression.
Yeah. No, but Jalen's fine.
We predicted that.
The Cowboys, though, I kind of had them in 2 categories because you have the Dak contract. So do you end up... I know they don't need one now, but is they going to sign Dak to a 3rd contract? Or what do you... what are you guys' feelings on that? Because he could be one of those... Cowboys could be a huge question at quarterback, or it could be a no doubt.
That is a really good Venn diagram between... There is doubt there. There has to be, because his lows are low.
His lows are low.
I think a lot of that depends on how it plays out, though.
Well, there's that 100% because the team can elevate the MVP. We just talked about the team elevates a certain player, especially if you're the quarterback.
Dak was number one up until 3 weeks ago for MVP.
It's what's going to elevate Geno into potentially not having a quarterback drafted behind him. If we make the playoffs again, even though we should probably be looking towards the future, we'll probably stay with the Geno and then do something else in the draft. And I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's what happens when the team wins around the quarterback. It makes the quarterback elevated. It just always does.
And with the Cowboys, though, bringing in Trey Lance, I know he's not ready as of yet, but having that kind of talent that you're able to bring in on the cheap, that it seems like you're willing to not go back to the draft right away because of that.
That is a good call as well. I've kind of forgot about that. He is only 3 years removed from being the 3rd overall pick. I mean, it's not to say that there wasn't. Yes, yeah, no, I agreed. So that footnote does make a very big difference in the Cowboys specifically. I would say I would probably put them closer into the no doubt then.
Okay, so I'll keep them no doubt. And then I got Lions. The only reason I wrote Panthers down is because you just drafted Bryce.
No, I don't think the Lions are necessarily a no doubter. Well, they took Hendon Hooker. No, right. Okay, so they do have a succession plan. All right, then no doubt.
And I think Goff fits Dan. I think Goff fits Dan Campbell's
ASMR
style. I do. I think Goff does sometimes get a little too turnover prone a couple games here and there, but I think Goff has got Dan Campbell's style. So. And then after Lions and Panthers, obviously because of Bryce. And then the next two is just Niners and Rams for no doubters.
You don't think the Rams might draft?
Well, because I was thinking
Stafford is getting older, dude. That's the problem.
Older, but is it? He's still what do you think he's got? No doubt. I'm still 4 years, no doubt.
No way. 3-4 years.
I don't know about 4, but I think he's played well enough
is there
this
enough
year.
Do you have some now too?
Yes, there's plenty.
Okay, there's plenty.
I think he's played well enough this year where it's not an immediate concern.
Right.
As much as I hate the Rams being the team in our division, but they hit on this last draft with a lot of players.
Sean McVay's done a great job in almost every draft.
This is such a deep QB draft, though.
If a guy falls to you, sure, but it's not an immediate concern.
Their immediate concern is like a cornerback or another offensive lineman.
But I still don't put it in a no doubter, is what I'm saying.
Okay, so you would say you're putting them in the do they.
Question. Do they? Sure, yes.
Okay.
If that's yes.
Let's roll into the do they's next.
We love you guys.
Let's roll into the do they's next. And I got a couple in here that are kind of sneaky and maybe should be in the fuck yes.
Oh, God, that is so easy.
It's bad, isn't it?
It's how good it is. Oh, I bet.
Yeah. This is a ready to drink that hits it right on the head because it's not overly sweet, even though it's strawberry lemonade. Shout out Simply.
So do they's Jets, because Aaron said he's playing for 2, but at some point you got to start looking for somebody, right?
It's
third,
the fall.
Third, fourth round, right?
No. Once again, it's you need to fix that offensive line.
That's what they're taking at number 9.
They fucking should.
Right now they're sitting at 9. They could move up. They're taking an offensive line.
They might need to move up to get the dude.
Joe Alt would be the guy that they would probably be targeting because the other kid's going, I think, sooner.
They've already talked about Wilson's out, so you're going to be moving someone in, whether that's through the draft or through free agency.
Right.
There's going to be a different guy behind Rodgers.
But you also can't put just a veteran. You can't put a veteran behind a veteran. So you got to get younger in QB too.
Right. So you're going to be looking like that 3rd, 4th round, right?
Okay.
Like somebody, right?
There will be that Hartman,
maybe.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
My stock really fell on him.
I agree, but that's the point, though. Is somebody who's older who will come in and listen to Rodgers and not fight him and know that he's the backup. I'm just saying something of that nature seems to be the most feasible.
Yeah, especially when we talked about already that offensive line is going to be the immediate concern. So you're probably not going to be drafting that quarterback that high. So he would probably fall in that range.
And then I got Steelers next.
Oh man, I would put them in the questions, right?
Right, that's where we're in. The do-they's. They should be taking one, right? Is Kenny Pickett the dude or not the dude?
If you're riding Mason Rudolph this quickly, I don't know.
Are we giving Kenny Pickett another year? Are we drafting a guy?
Well, he's still cheap, which is always nice.
And they were better with him than without him. But if a guy fell, sure.
Like, are you talking
I
first?
have a hard time pulling the trigger.
I know. Are you talking like
early in the draft?
Yeah, so it's third round again, like Jets. Maybe taking somebody you like if somebody falls that way.
With as rich as this quarterback class could be, then I think that should be the play.
The Steelers, that is such a good one. They could be the play. I've heard them thrown out for the Russell Wilson. Like that's a perfect team for Russell Wilson to go to. They run the ball. They have a tough-nosed defense. They don't expect the quarterback to throw for 400 yards. They don't. Tomlin's not that dude.
That's the other thing too.
That's why I hope the next team doesn't go for him.
Well also if you're not going to go in the draft, Russell Wilson or Kirk Cousins are going to be guys that are going to start somewhere.
You think Cousins is going to be ready week 1 though?
I think so. Okay. But I mean, the way that Rodgers progressed through his injury, I feel like Cousins should be ready week 1, no questions.
Okay.
Next team I wrote down is obviously the team I'm wearing all over my body. Is the Raiders. Do they need one?
The Raiders. I never heard of them.
Do they need one? I think
Yes.
Yes, it just depends on what you want more.
You bench Jimmy. Aiden's good, but are you going to develop him?
Right. So that's the question: Is Aiden? Are you going to come out and win the next 2 weeks? Does he keep his stock up, or do you? And I really think that I don't know, but I would rather take like the best cornerback available in the first round and take maybe a Bo Nix or a Penix if that falls to you in the second round. There is going to be those second round quarterbacks available, or make a trade to get back up in and take a Bo Nix or Penix late in the first.
Well, from the outside, I feel like you're moving off Garoppolo.
Oh yeah, he's gone. He's a Jets backup quarterback.
Dude.
or maybe the Patriots starting quarterback.
He's going to be a permanent backup now, though. He
can't stay healthy, dude. He's done.
But I feel like O'Connell's been good, not great. Like, I don't feel like he's definitely earned the starting spot, so you're going to look there. It just depends on what's there.
I think that's what we're going to look to. Is that dude there at that pick, or do you take the best available player? Because you still need
the draft is going to be so juicy.
Dude,
those QBs are so
next team
interesting.
Next team I've written down is starts the NFC off, and I actually think I had them in this. Do they? But maybe they should be in the fuck yeah. The Washington Commanders. Do they? Is Sam Howell earn that job, or are they now, since they're drafting at 3, are they now in that Drake, May, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams sweepstakes?
I honestly think it's the why not? If you're drafting at 3, is that what
right now they're at 3?
Oh my god, yeah, dude. Okay, because it really depends on what happens at 1 and 2. But if
yes, with their position though,
why not? This is the draft.
They're in the fuck yeah.
To me,
I moved them to the fuck yeah.
I put them in the fuck. You need to draft. Fuck yeah, you need to draft. Like, I was a Sam Howell guy coming into this season.
And
I liked his tools, and he started off leading the NFL in passing yards, but he's regressed with turnovers, and his pocket awareness is trash, dude. He gets hit all the time, and their
offensive line's
is not good, but like he doesn't use his athleticism the way he should as well. He has no clock.
At 3, you could take the best tackle.
No, pass. I think, but the QB prospects are tackles can technically last longer if they stay healthy, but then there's also big men that are get busted up quick sometimes too. Like,
I don't know, there's 2 really good tackles I think coming out.
The kid from Penn State and the kid from Notre Dame.
Right. Okay. What's the number 1 important position in the NFL?
Quarterback.
Okay. But you got to protect him too. I understand that. But
I guess it also goes along with who your coach is too. Right.
That's true, because they're going to fire Ron Rivera.
So
they are going to be finding a new.
If you bring an offensive person in, they probably go quarterback. If you bring a defensive coach in, they're probably going to go offensive tackle and stay with Sam Howell and try to build around.
But to me, at 3, it's a no-brainer.
It's hard, because especially if Drake's there. Because right now,
if it goes Caleb Drake, and then you're looking at using the 3rd pick on the 3rd quarterback, I don't necessarily like that. I'd probably lean tackle just because of strength of position.
I guess it depends. We'll get into these other 2 teams. They're going to be 2 of the bigger teams. But Bears and Cardinals are 1-2.
Oh, man.
We'll get into them.
It depends on Kyler.
So the next team I wrote down is Packers.
And Justin Fields.
Has Jordan done enough to keep that job?
Yes, because they won't draft high enough to get the guy that they necessarily need in front of him.
I think they're that third, fourth round again, right? Kind of like where we said the Jets and Steelers might
maybe
be
even lower than that. I honestly think that they should really find out what Jordan Love has to offer.
Because I think he's played a couple games, man, where he looked really,
the spark
really
is
well.
there. He's a Packer.
And
like,
dude, their skill positions are fucking hot. And what Jones has been hurt.
Coming on.
Jones has been hurt.
On.
I think they need to look for another back. Jones has been hurt a lot, so maybe running back's a position in need for them to get another guy in.
Well, I mean, they spent that capital on Dillon. He hasn't really been the guy. I've been up and down on the Packers. Just part of me wonders, like, I feel like Love should be better being in the system as long as he had, but another part of me feels like that's a young team, and it kind of makes sense the kind of season that they've had as far as the up and down. So it's tough.
Yeah, but I don't think he's the problem.
I think that. Well, I think he's
sometimes.
Sometimes I think they need maybe a little bit better offensive line needs shoring up, and Aaron Jones being hurt like almost all year has kind of really been a bad thing for them.
Christian Watson, he's their number one guy. I feel like when he's healthy, but he hasn't been healthy really this year.
Right, and Romeo Doubs, shout out Nevada, he's been killing it. So. And then Croft and then the Musgrave, they've been doing good. I think the offensive line needs to be shored up, but I don't think Jordan's necessarily.
It's just been a bonkers year for quarterback play in general in the NFL. We've seen so many backups and shit, dude. Drew Lock came in and won us a game at home against the Eagles, and then Geno went to Nashville and won us a game, both in the final seconds and the final minute, like.
Hanging on to that chance.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
So the next team I had in earlier in the season.
Yeah.
But this team, I think
Baker Mayfield?
Yes. The Bucs and Baker Mayfield. Like, he's going to be a free agent. I think that they might want to rethink about signing him. He has played pretty damn well. I know it's a lot to do if Mike Evans stays and goes too.
Can I get in here real quick with this one? Is I think that because you're not going to draft high enough, right?
To sign him. Yes, to sign him.
Yes, to sign him because you're not going to draft high enough to get the true prospect potentially at the guaranteed number one QB. And if Baker's smart, well, not if Baker's smart, if Tampa Bay's smart, they understand that you don't have to sign him for $50 a year. He's a 30 a year guy.
A Geno Smith
exactly.
Smith
You give him a 3-year deal that you can get out of after 1 year. So you say, hey, you are going to be the dude going forward. If you you're locked in still with the ability to we know your career's been inconsistent. Re-sign him, Tampa Bay, because I think that's a no-brainer to re-sign him, given the layout of the team.
It's a great call going with the Geno Smith contract, Chuck. I think that's a great call.
It mirrors the same condition as to what happened with Geno last year and what happened with Baker this year. Same concept.
And I think we all were higher on David Carr, Derek. Coming into the league.
David Carr was never good.
That's the next team I've written down, so just jump into it, Trev. They're on the do they.
I was just going to say.
They don't have to, I guess. Because they did draft your boy, Hapner. What was it? Haener? Jake Haener out of Fresno?
I think the Saints they don't look good. Sorry, Trev. They don't look really good at any level, including quarterback.
Offensively, that is true.
The running back position didn't look as good as we thought with Jamal Williams and Kamara.
Agreed.
Should have been better. I think a lot of that goes on the coach, and I think they get a new coach, and I think that makes a lot of difference in how they move forward.
Dennis Allen is not good.
They were going to be the team in the South. Baker ends up being the better signing. It's a lot.
Some people just aren't meant to be head coaches. Dennis Allen's a really good defensive coordinator for Sean Payton. Some people just aren't.
I know the Saints have held on to him. This is his 4th year already, isn't it? They've held on to him.
No, it's only
is it 3? No, it's at least 3. It's at least 3. They've given him a decent leash.
Last team I've written down on the do they list is the team that Chuck's wearing on his hat is the Seahawks. Where do you go there?
That's a great position for do they. I want to hear you guys.
I have argued that where they're sitting at 21 and the offense that Pete wants to run, why in the fuck aren't you taking the kid that just fucking is about to try to go win a national title right down the street? It makes no sense not for the Seahawks not to go get Appendix right there at 21. It literally falls every perfect plan of how the Seahawks want to run an offense he's the kid that's about to, like, he just put Washington on his fucking shoulders. He right there in town. Like, let's get it done. That makes so much sense. He's going to hand the football off. He's going to play great play action. He throws a great deep ball, and Penix has a beautiful fucking ball. We just saw it against Oregon. Everybody, the whole nation saw it. That was like an outstanding showing, and I don't understand, and I don't see him in a lot of first rounds. They talk injury stuff. I really think 21 Seahawks would be an amazing pick for Michael Penix.
I agree with you, Z. I'm not sure. I don't see the Seahawks trading up to make that pick.
Well, I don't think he goes that high. I think they could take him at 21 right now.
You think if he's there at 21, I agree. They totally should take him there. But if he's going to be selected sooner, I don't see them trading up to make that play. I think that's mainly because just the quarterbacks they have, they both are adequate at running that offense. It's man. I mean, let's hear from the Seahawks fan though, because this is your team.
Hear from the Seahawks fan. Oh, goodness gracious. If you are to listen back to a couple of pods ago, as we were on a 4-game slide, I was basically saying, all right, let's get some tape on Drew, trade him, and draft behind Geno. With these last 2 weeks, getting back into the playoff push, looking that we can win games closely, like, these are things that weigh heavy on the decision of if you're going to draft a quarterback or not. Like, specifically winning in the fourth quarter. And if we continue to do so, one of these two quarterbacks on our roster will be the one that they want to take into next year. I love the idea of still being able to get the guy behind the guy, though.
Make a bridge.
Yes, because I honestly think that if Geno is the dude and Drew Lock is not the dude, then we gotta let Drew Lock, like, I think he's now at his highest trade capacity, if you will, after coming and beating the Eagles. Market value, thank you. Yes, that's the better term.
And it just makes sense that one of them at least won't be on the roster.
Yeah, because at this point you've now said Geno's the dude, and Drew Lock has shown enough to where he should be trade capital to go to another team. Josh Dobbs got a fucking 3. You're telling me Drew Lock couldn't get one? Like, so. But I think then behind Geno, you can't say that he's long
so
term.
If you're not digging the first round Penix, are you thinking third round, fourth round?
Oh my God, if Penix is there, it's the true investment for the future, and the fact of, like, you get to build a bridge. Geno and Penix are very close to each other in playing style. Like, Penix has probably a better arm and a better throwing, like, motion, but the way that they view the game and play the game and within the pocket, and, like, Geno scrambles enough, but not a whole shitload, because Penix doesn't move. Penix has great pocket awareness, but he doesn't scramble. So,
since we're there, though, hypothetical, if the Seahawks luck into Penix,
okay,
how long before he starts?
I think that really depends on. I really think that depends on how that season. It's a lot like this Levis Tannehill thing worked out in Tennessee, kind of thing.
I just feel with the prospect that Penix is, he can start sooner than later.
Okay, so you would think that.
I think that if you have a guy in front of him as a bridge, he doesn't make it more than half a season.
But here's the thing: is that I think the reserve or the calm or the understanding of the person of who Penix is, he would be okay with understanding, knowing that he's got to say he's like a Jordan Love, where he's not gonna fucking rock the boat sitting for a whole year if he has to.
Sure,
I don't think he's a diva. I think that you're going to see him. I think you're going to see him in practice day in and day out, and you're like, dude, this kid can fucking wing it. Let's get him out there with JSN and DK and see what the fuck he can do. So I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. I want a quarterback. I really do. It's the one thing moving forward with my team that I'm not young enough at.
It gives me flashbacks of Seattle going with Russell over
Matt Flynn.
They brought in.
We got the biggest fish in the offseason. He was considered the prized QB, the jewel coming into that offseason, and we signed him. We got him for a pretty good rate, and then we drafted Russ in the 3rd round, and then benched, and then traded him actually to the Raiders.
I liked Russ too. I liked him at NC State, and I liked him at Wisconsin. I was a big fan of him coming out.
Sure.
So that's the
He wasn't a robot yet.
No. Let's do the fuck yes next.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. We have more teams? Shit, I feel like we've got a lot.
Fuck yeah.
Giants,
Fuck yeah.
America.
Falcons
Fuck yeah.
I would say over the other two, the Falcons.
and
more so.
Commanders. Commanders because they're at 3.
I think both the Falcons and Commanders are more, if they're a quarterback away from really competing. It seems like that's the biggest.
Give me those first two again.
Patriots and Giants.
Giants
right now are to draft into number 5.
And we're the Patriots. Pats got to be pretty high too.
Pats are at 4.
Shit, man. So, okay.
They're
We're
all-
talking about those quarterbacks falling. We just listed the first, the fuck yeahs are quarterback hungry teams. So, Penny's ain't going to fall to 21 based off of that fuck yeah-ness.
That depends on,
Belichick.
Cardinals and Trey and Belichick on the team.
What does Chicago do with Justin Fields?
So I got 5 teams on the huge question marks.
Huge. Minnesota.
Let's start with the Browns first.
Yes, because Flacco's not long term, and Deshaun has been nothing but a question mark.
Look what this fucking
nothing
team
but a
did
question mark.
with a quarterback that played half well. Look at
Sure.
how good they've been.
No, he's won like 4 out of 5 games or some shit. Like, he's been balling.
I feel like they're looking quarterback, though. You have Deshaun on that big contract. You just got...
That's true, too. It's 100% guaranteed. You got no wiggle room.
In the last draft.
That's true, too.
And if there's a player like... If Joe Flacco can propel the Browns in the playoffs, I think they re-sign him.
I don't think Flacco comes back next year.
You don't think he comes back?
No matter what he does.
No matter what he does. I think that guy's playing football.
Because of what you just said. Well, so what you do is you maybe give him a sign and trade, like the classic NBA, right? Like you don't not get anything out of him, but you sign him with the intent that you're going to trade him because of what you just mentioned of having Deshaun Watson on a guaranteed contract and DTR, who's way young. Flacco's a million years old, dude. He's not the answer. I'm not saying he hasn't been playing well, but no matter what happens this season, he's not a Brown next year. You can put that on wax.
I mean, I don't see it happening, but if the Browns somehow win it all, there's no way they don't bring him back.
I still think he's the Trent Dilfer.
Ooh. Next team I have.
Not that bad. He's not that bad.
Next team I have on the huge question marks is the Broncos. Obviously now with the Russell Wilson stuff, are they going to fall? Is Jared Stidham the guy, or are they taking? Because right now they're at 14. So depending on if they lose, do they get in the top 10?
Sure.
And then you're looking at J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix.
Well, but they also don't have first-round picks because they traded them both for Russ and for Peyton. Didn't they trade this year's for Peyton?
The updated draft said they were at number 14.
That was
for this year.
The season before. They think they have their pick this year.
They have their pick this year for the
right.
I think they do go. They have to address quarterback. Stidham is just a bridge, if at best.
Right.
I think they do.
Oh, he's literally just, you're thankful that he's even there to bench Russ. You had to bench Russ, period. So you're just thankful that this kid's even there to step in. And because he's going to be a fucking, target. You're just going to throw stones at him. There's no, even if he plays well, he's still not going to be the guy moving forward. Unless he comes out and 400 yards, 4 TDs for 2 games or some shit.
It would have to be stupid.
That's what I'm saying. It'd have to be like Madden numbers. Otherwise, he's just literally the bridge guy. Everybody has accepted that. So Denver, if you go through the combine process and you find the dude, you mortgage the house to get him, because the rest of that team is pretty much there. They need some offensive line. But it's my opinion.
I don't know. I think they're further away than a lot of people thought.
I hope they keep sucking.
I'm not saying I want them to keep sucking. Yeah, me too as a Seahawk fan. But.
Next team I wrote down is the Vikings, because Kurt's a free agent now.
Right. I think I have not heard Russell mentioned in this whisper, but I feel like he would be perfect right there.
I don't think he'd mesh. I think him and Kurt are too far apart and different people. I think he would push. I don't know. I think
they would Jesus jerk each other off all over the fucking Minnesota parking lot.
I think that Russ needs to go to a younger. I don't know. I think Russ might push people the wrong way.
Yeah, but Jesus makes it all better.
Yeah, I think they go Kurt, or they try to go younger.
Minnesota should. Okay, so if they lose out on the playoffs and they draft right around like the 14-15 range, where
because right now they're at 15.
Right. If they're right there, assuming that, they need a quarterback because Cousins.
J.J. McCarthy's been put
even coming back. He's older. Kirk Cousins is now on the backside of his career, coming off of an Achilles.
Younger for sure.
So I think that the big question is if the guy is there, pull the trigger, because I love the idea, because once again it's this Baker Mayfield argument that we said you can give Kurt, you don't have to give him 40 anymore, you can give him 30. He's coming off injury. He knows that his market value is not at an all-time high, and I would think that Kurt seems like a kind of guy who doesn't want to move again, right? So you give him 30, 35, and you draft a guy.
So you think they bring him back?
Yeah.
I thought Falcons for Russell Wilson. Sorry.
No, I like that take too. They like to work off schedule. They work very well with. But here's the thing. What are they doing with Kyle Pitts in Atlanta, man? Like, because Russ has been terrible with tight ends. We wasted Jimmy Graham's years there.
He's
like,
not the guy. I don't know if Kyle's even
Kyle Pitts is definitely the dude. Are you kidding me? That kid's a beast.
Yeah,
like,
he's so up and down.
He has been, but I think it's kind of the similar.
It's been the QB's fault, dude. If they fed him like Brady did to Gronk, he would be a monster.
I kind of compare
There's
him
not
to
enough scheme for him.
Njoku with the Browns.
And who has broken the fuck out with Flacco.
He has a talent.
He sure did with Flacco,
But with
though.
Flacco, he's
Did you watch this most recent game with him? It was 50 yarders there, 25 yarders there, 30 yarders there. He was a manimal on Thursday. And that's not the first game that they've had. His touchdown rate has gone up. He's been basically scoring a touchdown every game that Flacco's been under center.
I think it's quarterback preference, right? Like if you like the tight end or not like the tight end.
Right. So exactly though. So the quarterbacks that have been in Atlanta during Kyle Pitts' time have not been at all.
Good quarterbacks.
Exactly. And Russ is another motherfucker that would not use those talents correctly.
Next two teams I wrote down have, I think, maybe the biggest
I can't believe we
questions.
still have more teams.
There's only two. Cardinals and Bears.
Oh, right. These are maybe the juiciest ones,
and
just
because they pick at 1 and 2.
Right, and they also just had quarterbacks who were younger. That Fields wasn't coming back from injury. Kyler was a big question mark because of coming back from injury. And he looked, the first week he came back, he looked faster than before he got hurt. Like, he was fucking everywhere. I don't know if the Cardinals, because you're already money into him, right?
Right, so you got to trade that contract.
Right. Or cut him and swallow.
That's why I feel like it's more likely that the Cardinals stick with Kyler and the Bears move off of Fields.
Fields has been rumored as maybe a Sean Payton.
Boo! No, come to Seattle.
But so I think I'm in kind of agreement. I'm in kind of agreement with you, Trev. I just worry that we talked about playing on time with Russ. I worry that Kyler doesn't play on time either, and it's hard.
Not even close.
It's hard to have an offense around him.
He does similar as far as play
he's
style.
He's a one read guy, and as soon as he's off that one read, he's gone. Now he is ridiculously athletic right now, so that works for his play scheme, but he's got to learn to still read and develop, which is crazy. But go ahead.
The Bears literally drafted 1 and 8.
Man.
Right? So you could get said quarterback at Caleb or Drake or Jaden, whoever you want.
Your preference, right? You don't have to even worry about it. You get whatever dude you want.
And
that's a fucking good feeling.
And then in 8, you look at taking the kid from LSU.
Neighbors?
Or the kid from FSU, Florida State, Coleman. You look at taking a receiver there, and now you have your out, because Coleman and Neighbors are both outside receivers. They're your
and then you pair that with DJ Moore,
and you pair that with
Kmet
DJ
has come on,
and Cole Kmet. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
Unless Alt's there.
Well, I was going to say, if one of those tackles fall, that would be a really good pick for Chicago.
But their offensive line has
great space, though, aren't they? Chicago has a lot of power moving forward, I think.
I feel like the Bears' worries, though, on offensive line are more interior because they took Wright last year from Tennessee to do the right tackle.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Their left tackle's been okay, and then the kid they took from Okie State a couple years ago is now playing one of the guard positions.
Gotcha.
So maybe they get one of those linemen, like a center-type guard later on. But, dude, you you could literally, or you go Jared Verse there and match him up with Sweat, who you just re-signed, who's been having an insane year with you all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, yeah, questionable but good move.
Questionable, but yeah, we questioned the fuck out of it, and it's been a great move.
Well, there it is, man. I think that obviously this segment, which has been quite the run on, and you need to pay attention to these quarterbacks. There's so much talent in the NFL and so much coming in question marks. It's so crazy. We live in a world in the what have you done for me lately?
Right,
Some of these guys, if they were back in the day, Justin Fields would have never been thought to have been traded, or at this point in his career, teams would have stuck by him. He's shown enough, but even now, enough isn't enough.
Well,
sometimes.
Part of that's though with the change, and your coaching staff's gonna change.
There's that too, yeah, because quarterbacks can get GMs and head coaches fired quick.
But there's also the movements of some of these veterans, like the Bucks.
Sure.
Baker all of a sudden plays himself and started going. At the beginning of the year, we were like, no.
I thought maybe Trask would come in, and because he was the younger prospect, that might have been a little bit hungrier.
We talked about a couple of these other teams, the Commanders. Was Sam the guy? All of a sudden, Sam's the guy. Now he's not the guy. Then he's the guy. Then he's not the guy.
True.
Some
Absolutely.
of the up and down play of the young guys has been crazy. Gino in the Seattle has been
coming down the stretch, baby. This is gonna be so good. These last 2 weeks mean so much to so many franchises, for sure.
So last week we'll start fandom off because we already did a common sense with Franco. Last week we did a Chuck and I gave our kind of state of the union on our football.
Well, that's true.
teams.
I would love to hear the breakdown of the Niners.
So let's get Trev to give us a 49er state.
Mine's a Homer fandom too. I'm gonna touch on the Huskies, but I'm gonna let the Bay Area fan shine a little bit.
Well, yeah, just to touch in on that, like we talked about before, I don't feel like the loss to Baltimore reflects the team or the quarterback, and I feel like these last two games, the Commanders were a heavy favorite. They should win that game. The Rams are coming on. That's the game that's going to be more interesting.
100%.
Kyle Shanahan
100%.
had McVay's number, so I mean, I'm thinking, I'm feeling that the Niners should win out and hold down that 1 seed with the lineup that there is. The Rams are going to be the tougher game, but I feel like that's a game that they can win still, and that will determine, of course, the seeding position and how the Niners go into the playoffs.
Where's your overall health at?
I mean, fairly healthy. We still there's a couple, of course, Hufanga's out. We were missing Armstead against the Ravens, but he should be back soon. There's no other real big significant injuries, which is my biggest concern. As long as those aren't there, I feel pretty good no matter who it is in the NFC. The Eagles, the Lions, the Cowboys, I feel like they have a step up on those teams if healthy.
Is the signing of Hargrave, has that been a miss?
He hasn't performed. I think he hasn't lived up to the expectations that he had last season with the Eagles, but I think he's still an important piece because the value that is on the defensive line. And I still feel like that if everything's healthy, he's still an integral part of that defense. It maybe hasn't produced numbers-wise, but he's definitely been a better D-tackle than the other guys that we've had on the roster other than Armstead, which switches between D-end and D-tackle. And I think that pretty much sums up that.
So obviously, all right, so pretty bad game. It just, he really... That Baltimore defense is the truth. We've known that for a while. And, I think that your team is... I said this on the pod, I think, just last week, that this is the year for the Niners. Or I said this 2 weeks ago. Either way, I think that, you are the most situated team in the entire NFL. And I hate to say that as a Seahawks fan, but I think it's the truth. I think that if you do not capitalize this year... your window becomes rapidly yes, because guys are gonna have to move off of that team from play, like just cap reasons.
Older too. CMC gets year older.
Yeah, more. He's got more mileage on his legs. Sure.
This is definitely the year, and you bring it up. So I'm gonna expand upon, just the Purdy play. The thing that concerned me with him in the game against Baltimore, of course, defense is good, but he was staring down some receivers. He was double tapping on the ball.
Super dangerous.
Those were the only things that really worried me watching him play against the game.
Young player choices or movements.
Yes, right. This is his second year. He hasn't been he wasn't a full-time starter last year, so I understand there's still growth to be had, and like none of those things are, I think, none of them really worried me to the point where I'm like shaking, that I'm thinking that, you know, maybe he just loses confidence and falls out.
No, he doesn't seem like that kind of guy. He doesn't seem like that kind of kid.
No, yeah, and the picks that he threw, a lot of them were contested. There was the play where Kittle and the defender batted up the ball. There was a play where it was batted at the line. There was a play where his arm was hit when he was throwing, and that resulted in 3 of those 4 picks.
Right, the one in the end zone was the only one that he truly
that was the first one. That was him staring down the receiver and not reading the safety.
Bad read.
That was the concern.
And that happens, to be fair, though. Like, even the great ones force shit, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Rodgers has thrown picks. Brady has thrown picks.
Peyton Manning and Joe Montana, many of the great players
start off a little
interception
patchy.
games.
Sure, absolutely.
So that number isn't the problem with me, as far as I see it with the team.
Okay. So, Downey, you got yourself a fandom?
Go ahead, jump in, Charlie. I'll finish off.
All right, then. I'm going to touch on my UW Huskies. You know, we touched on the college football playoff matchups earlier and about how we think that they really got it right and that these are really good matchups. And I just think with Kalen DeBoer coming into play and Penix staying healthy, we have 2 potential definitely a first-round wide receiver in Rome Meduze and potentially a second one in Jalen Polk. So that offense is just clicking. It's so fucking nice to see. We actually lost our starting running back before the season even opened, so technically it didn't make a difference in the fact that we never had him, but our RB1 going into the season popped his ACL in training camp, and we still had Duke Johnson was nasty on the ground. Yeah, great. Shout out to him. And you guys, however this season ends, I think that we've played this season with respect, and we've been in the headlines for all the right reasons. You haven't heard anything about anybody griping about this or anybody getting in trouble or anybody bitching about not being number 1, even though we have the toughest strength of schedule. Like, it's all like the Huskies, I just feel, are exemplifying the right things in college football right now. We are not we're not abusing the transfer portal. We made a couple of good transfer portal signs, but we did a lot of recruiting, and I think that DeBoer, hopefully he views us as like the pinnacle, and he doesn't necessarily want to go to like an Ohio State or like, although Ryan Day is pretty much fine there, but like, yeah.
Well, we'll see. I mean,
that's true. This year didn't end up the way that he wanted to. Yeah, you got to beat Michigan. But the fandom just is to say that, like, you know, thank you for the last year of the Pac-12 to really put it on the pedestal, get us back into the playoff, and prove that, you know, that conference held its weight for a lot more than people actually gave it credit for. And I think that these teams moving into the Big Ten, SC, and Washington are going to really make some fucking noise with these. Yeah, I think that these matchups are going to be great regular season, and it's going to drive eyeballs to college football. And I think that these programs are exactly who needs to be pushed forward. I think that we are doing the right things, and I hope that it stays that way. And god damn it, do I want to see us win this fucking game on Monday. Oh my god, you guys, I am so hungry for this, like, especially because it's Texas and they want to say Texas is back. I want to put my boot so far up their ass that the whole nation is like, wow, what happened to Texas? You know, like, and I don't give a fuck who wins the Michigan Alabama game. Like, I just want to come for necks straight out. Like, but it starts with Texas, and UW hold strong, and I love you, and, you know, bow down, baby. Let's go. All right, Downey, finish this up, man. What's your fandom?
I'm gonna play off of yours and just the college football playoff. The Monday, man. These 2 games. It's gonna be the best set of 4 teams that we've seen, and it's the last set of 4.
Maybe ever, right?
Well, it's the last set of 4.
Right,
We go to
exactly.
We go to 8, next
12.
12. Fuck 12. So I just can't wait to see it. I am disappointed it is late. I mean, come on, we all have to go to work usually on the next day. We all want to like have some drinks. Can't they be on New Year's Eve so we could like have New Year's to sober up? So that kind of is a bummer. Why isn't this sidebar? Why isn't the Super Bowl on like a Saturday too, and the national championship on a Saturday?
That way makes more sense for the Super Bowl. For the college football games, though, like I just think it's because NFL is going on Sunday.
I do too.
That's the only reason.
Well, yeah, but they could still play their Saturday slot.
That'd be
a
sick.
Saturday national championship would be dope as fuck. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I think that they messed up the timing. 8:45 for a playoff game kickoff because it's 5:45 our time, which means
Correct.
It's 8:45 Eastern. You're just alienating the East Coast.
That's in Baton Rouge,
which is Louisiana, which runs off of the East Coast time. I don't think it's Mountain time, so they're kicking off at 8:45 local time.
They're playing in New Orleans, right?
Yes, yeah, that's
not
50.
Not Baton Rouge,
dude, but 9 o'clock is bedtime for the vast majority of people over fucking 50 some odd years. Like you're losing so much of that college football market, dude.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy. I didn't even think of that.
For that game.
Well, yes, because we're still in our visceral 30s. But I'm just saying,
it's
like
5 o'clock here too,
right? And it's
5:45.
5:45. Yeah, exactly. So I think that they messed up the timing of the games. Is the only thing that I would say I'm a little sad about.
But keep your eye out. Obviously, we just talked about the 4 games on Monday, but also the NFL weekend. There's only 2 weeks left, and each 2 weeks it's going to come down to the end. There could be somebody could get upset. You never know.
Big time. Oh, you could see the landslide could happen. No, dude, we got a game today. Lions, Cowboys, big playoff implications.
Big playoff implications.
Yeah, same with Miami and Baltimore on Sunday morning too, man.
Dope. So it was good to be back, all 3 of us, you guys.
Holiday season's over.
Absolutely, yeah. So things will get a little bit more regular. Schedules won't be so crazy. But thanks for listening. Make sure you check us out, Spotify and Buzzsprout for the audio, and the YouTube edit's going to be up for Mr. Pod 41. I love that. We're getting there. 52 will be the cutoff of the first season. We're at 1 per week.
Instagram and X
for the beers and for our pod picks, which I'm a little bit more confident in this week, even though I bet that the Raiders. Who the fuck knows? But hell yeah, keep your eyes out for that end of the football season, and we tease it we say it's a big deal. The draft, I love the draft.
I'm so stoked already. I've been already doing research.
College basketball is killing it. Major League Baseball is going to be swinging back around. So
big news, not big news. Chris Sale just got traded to the Braves for Grissom. Chris Sale really hasn't been much since he's been hurt all these years.
Yeah,
so
it's been a while.
I don't really know how big of a news, but it is just breaking just right now.
Hell yeah. All right, well, we'll be back with Pod 42, the Jackie Robinson edition.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.